we have to start at the Camp Nou, not at the Camp Nou, sorry,
Montjuic.
at Montjuic, Barcelona against Bayern. In the end, 5-1, this was a whitewashing. I thought there was a period of the game when I thought, okay, Bayern are in this. But then it felt like Barcelona just raised the level of individual quality. The fourth goal, some of those passes from Pedri and from Fermin Lopez, who, good player, but you wouldn't put him in the Pedri class in terms of passing. Lamine Yamal, and of course Rafinha.
Yeah, Rafinha with his hat-trick. I mean, you even said 5-1 is 4-1. 4 shots on target for Barcelona, 4 goals. It was just the efficiency that they had, how relentless they were, the verticality they played. And yeah, you're right. At times, especially in the first half, Bayern had the ball and moved the ball quite well, as we saw on the Kane goal. The first one that's disallowed, and then the one that is valid. But overall, they was just overwhelmed by all this energy, incredible from Fermin, from Rafinha, from Lamine, from everybody. Casado's pass for Rafinha's second goal, the third goal, is incredible. Diagonal, they used the diagonal really well. Then again with Lamine on the fourth goal, it's just as good as it was from Barca and the Flick, probably for the toughest game that they've had this season. And I'm sorry to say, but for Vincent Kompany and Bayern, as bad as they could be defensively.
And of course, you said toughest game this season. They have another tough one at the weekend in the Clásico. And the injured guys are coming back. Later on, we're going to break down. You've got Xavi coming back. You've got De Jong coming back. You've got Dani Olmo, maybe not ready for this game. But we're talking about how things work out long term. But we mentioned Bayern. Obviously, Musiala not fully fit, didn't start this game. No. He opted for Thomas Muller. Part of me thought, all right, Barcelona at home. There's the high line. Do you really want Muller and Kane to be sort of half of your front four? Or is there a better way to exploit this?
Absolutely. I thought that was a massive mistake from Kompany to start Muller. You could have played Matistel there. You could have changed, maybe put Elise as a 10 if you wanted. And
maybe Coman or Sané.
Yeah, or Sané on the right-hand side with Gnabry on the left. There was a lot of things he could have done, but not that one. I mean, Muller is not even good enough. Even in a really good Bayern team, I think anymore to play at this kind of level. And I think that showed very, very quickly.
Talk about who also, you mentioned the efficiency. I thought the goalkeeping had a little bit to do with it with Bayern. Yep. Obviously, Manuel Neuer, absolute legend. I was watching Sky Italia afterwards. Fabio Capello comes on, and sometimes these ex-pros or ex-managers are more diplomatic. Other times, with some people, when they feel very strongly, they just put the boot in. He says, they're watching the highlights, and he says, he doesn't mention Neuer, but it's obviously on my hand. He's like, well, some goalkeepers should have the courage to retire and get out of the way as they get older and their quality shrinks. Is that a bit hard on Neuer? Is it just a reaction to last night? Or
I don't know. If you even go back to last season at the Bernabeu in that second leg against Real Madrid, for me, that the stupidity of that pass with his hand cost them that first goal and cost them the game. Against Villa is his mistake. And then again last night I think he shot on the last goal. He should have saved it really. There's a couple of times where he tried to play out from the back. One terrible pass, one that's blocked by Lamine that could have gone in easily. Even on the Lewandowski goal, I'm not really sure if he's not made a mistake there again. I just think there's too many mistakes.
I think we saw some poor performances from a lot of Bayern players, not just Neuer. But what struck me, you mentioned the efficiency of Barcelona. You can look at it the other way, and Bayern might say, you know what? Forget the score a second. We didn't actually get mullered in terms of the play and the chances we gave up. We had chances of our own at the other end.
Yeah.
And maybe, I know we disagree on this, the Fermin Lopez on Kim, where Kim does head the ball, but it ends up coming off the side of his head and going backwards because there's a hand on the back. For me, that goal should be disallowed.
Yeah, no, I think it's fair debate. I just don't think there's enough in what Fermin does, who's half the size of Kim as well. To even bother Kim, Kim should be much stronger than that. But you're right. It goes 2-1 for Barcelona, and that's a massive turning point in the game too.
All right, Jules, let's stick with Bayern here before we go back and heap praise on Hansi Flick and Barcelona, because I'm going to heap praise on Hansi Flick right now. I am so impressed with the work he's done, not just the injured guys and whatever, but how quickly he got them to really change their style, adopt the style. Obviously, when you come in, you win a couple games, you get buy-in from the players, it's easier. But this is so unnatural for Barcelona to be doing. Like all the talk of La Masia and stuff. We play a certain way, blah, 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 La Masia. Yeah, okay, that's not the way you're playing with Flick.
No,
so he's come in and he's changed all that. He's the ancient center forward who keeps scoring. I just never thought it would come together so quickly for him.
Yeah, and maybe the fact that because he's not from within, compared to Xavi, but even a Koeman, even those guys before. So you can almost arrive without this kind of tag on your back of like, you're from La Masia or you're from Barcelona, you have to play the Cruyff way all the time. It's like, I'm not from here. This is not me. I don't even speak Spanish. I'm coming here and I do my things with my ideas and nobody can tell me otherwise because I was not molded here anyway. So he comes in and I think at times it's a little bit kamikaze. Of course it is. And I think there will be games where they get done, and that might be on Saturday night in the Clasico, maybe.
All right. I just said I was going to talk about Bayern, but I got sidetracked by Flick because he's brilliant.
No, it's fine.
So please go ahead and tell me how they can get sidetracked in the Clasico. Let's just deal with this now.
Yeah, just that I think the high line at times against team that will be smarter than Bayern were yesterday.
Do Real Madrid have a couple fast players up front?
Maybe even more than a couple. Do they have players from midfield? At least they don't have Toni Kroos anymore, because I think Toni Kroos would have loved to play that game against the high line. But still, so I think at times it's a little bit kamikaze, but I think it's just part of the whole thing. Yes, they will concede chances and goals, and as we saw even last night, but they will also score and create a lot, because that's the pace with it. They go forward in transition from recovering the ball, as we saw on the third Rafinha goal, especially. It's a corner from Bayern, the goal from Pedri to Lamine to Rafinha. That triangle is just, it's 50 yards goal. It's just mind-blowing in many respects. I don't know if physically they can do that all season, because it must be super tiring, to be fair. But for now, it's working amazingly well.
And that's why they're getting help from the injured guys coming back. I think they can start really managing some minutes there.
Yeah, very sure.
We're going to get into that later, but I promised you Bayern. Let's go to Bayern. Let's start with Neuer. I'm wondering now if in some ways Bayern have a little bit of a problem. Obviously, Neuer, insanely popular, insanely influential, historical reasons. You have a coach in Vincent Kompany who is in his first season, who is new, who does not have a massive CV or a big rep, who was 11th choice when they hired him. We both love Kompany. I'm not going to say Kompany's a genius necessarily.
Yeah.
But he's a very forthright man. He's a person of character. He's a person with personality. Still, it's a big ask to go to the club and say, hey, I'm going to give Peretz or Ulreich or somebody else a shot. And maybe we need to have a conversation. Maybe in January, Nubel is at Stuttgart. I know it's a year-long loan, but whatever. But, we're Bayern. We usually get our way.
Yeah.
I'm just chucking this out there. Is this something he should be doing? Is it something he can do?
Yeah, is it hard to do?
It's difficult to do.
To take on Neuer in a way towards the end of his career. It's not like if just Neuer, I think, has this season left, maybe another one after. And even so, I'm not so sure. I don't know what you do. Because again, it's just, I think, too many mistakes. In the Bundesliga, it's fine because they are so good. They are so much better than anybody else. It's fine. And he's still capable on his line to make really good saves. But overall, in his decision-making, as we saw last night, and again, I say that, playing out from the back, that pass that Lewandowski should have scored off, and then the one that is blocked by Lamine that almost goes in straight away, thinking like, you can't expect to go far in the competition when this is possible. And then the Aston Villa defeat is on him too.
Is there a parallel with the last days of Gigi Buffon at Paris Saint-Germain?
Yeah, that's very true. Very similar. And especially, and the Champions League, I think more than the league, because the Bundesliga, like Ligue 1, are just easy leagues for them. But the Champions League is where you can be exposed and where your limits or limitations, I think, show up very, very easily because of the level of the teams you play against. And Villa are not as good as Barcelona, obviously, but that goal he conceded is on him. And yesterday, of the 4 plus the mistake that he made, again, I think he's partly to blame.
You said the Bundesliga, like Ligue 1, is, not difficult for them. I think that I think you might want to speak past tense there because
Yeah,
honestly, this
before.
season, not just last season with Bayern Leverkusen, this season with Leipzig, at least domestically, who knows, could be a different story. Look, it's not all on Neuer. We saw Kimmich really struggle, responsible for one, maybe arguably two of the goals.
Yeah.
Palhinha looks like a foreign object out there. I made the point at the weekend. Now, obviously, he's come on for Pavlovic.
Who's a big loss, to be fair.
He's a big loss, got hurt after 7 minutes at the weekend. I'm wondering if I just think he's such a different profile of player from Pavlovic. Was there an immediate choice that maybe company with hindsight, maybe this would have been a game for Goretzka, or maybe more likely for me at least, a game for Leimer, where we just say we keep things a little tight, take some of the pressure off Kimmich, because Palhinha simply didn't look like somebody who knew what was going on.
Yeah, I think he had one start before Wednesday night. And I just think to throw him in the deep end against a team like Barcelona, as we said, full of confidence and pace and that runs everywhere all the time and incessant in what they do. And then you put Palhinha there, who's clearly short of match fitness. It's pretty obvious to see, I think. It's just too much for him.
It's funny. I really like Palhinha as a player. I think in the right context, he can be very, very effective. The analytics people absolutely hate him.
Yeah.
Starting with our friend Ryan O'Hanlon and so on, because of his lack of progressive passing, blah, blah, blah. The way I see it, on a team like Bayern, I think, and the thinking might be, you have such attacking fullbacks, certainly when you've got Guerrero and Davies out there, that effectively it becomes a back three. I think that is the idea. But then you need guys who can play out of the back three. And the reality is neither Upamecano nor Kim are Beckenbauers on the ball. Palhinha certainly isn't.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the problem. And I'm wondering then, maybe you just play Kimmich in front of the defense, have him become, the de facto third center back playmaking. And then you have Palhinha further up the pitch. But then Palhinha further up the pitch serves no purpose. Right?
Yeah, and you need Kimmich, I think, further up the pitch because of the quality he has on the ball, really. And that's what
especially when Muller is in there at 10. Maybe it's different with Musiala.
Exactly, but still. And that's what Tuchel didn't want to play Kimmich in front of the back four either. And he didn't think that it was the right position for him. And
I don't think he wanted to play Kimmich at all, personally.
Yeah, but
that's another issue. Turning back towards Barcelona, we've waxed lyrical about what's happening. Now you have a situation where we saw Xavi come back at the weekend. We saw Dani Olmo. Even Frankie de Jong.
With the armband at the end. Yeah.
Now, heading into the Clásico, we did our Champions League talking points about how things should change. I think everybody agrees this is not the time to change it. These guys who come back just simply don't have enough minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe they come off the bench if they're needed. So I think we agree on that point. Going forward, though, what role do we see? What role do we see for these people? Like,
I guess
De Jong takes over. De Jong takes over from Casado, right?
I think Pedri, Gavi, and De Jong of the three has to be like with against Bayern with Pedri, Casado, and Fermin Lopez as maybe a slightly more advanced of that midfield three. I think the idea is probably to have Gavi, Pedri, and De Jong if you can make it work, because you also have to defend in there. You can't just have ballers who just keep the ball and play that verticality and that vertical style that we see and just feed Lamine and Lewandowski and Rafinha.
I think there's something very blue collar about Gavi as well. I don't think he's afraid to go and defend. Yeah. A bit like Fermin Lopez, who is sort of an 8/10 if you really have to use numbers, but he's got the mentality of a 6 a lot of the time in terms of work rate, whatever.
Put that effort in for sure.
So you're okay there. Dani Olmo, the big summer signing.
That's the thing.
For me, it's simple. I can't expect Rafinha and Lamine Yamal to play these many minutes all season long, and he becomes part of a rotation with them.
Yeah. Right. To play wide, you mean, more than
to play wide? Yeah, you got to go back to playing wide. Sorry, Danny.
You
can do it. You've done it before. I like that better wide than when Gavi played wide last season. And Lewandowski, I think we got to deal with this. The man is 36 years old. I know he's walking on air right now.
Yeah.
You have to assume that he needs an alternative. Ferran Torres, when fit again, gives you a lot of the pressing. Yeah. Maybe not the quality.
Not the finishing.
Can Dani Olmo play up front?
Yeah, as a false 9, I guess. But that's the only options they have anyway. then or you find a kid at the in La Masia, the academy somewhere like Margot style who will come on and can maybe do a job now and again, certainly not consistently. But yeah, it might become a problem, an issue at some point. And again, I think we go back to the style. It's a very, very demanding style. Yeah. And I just don't know how much more can they go without a bit more rotation, especially on that front three. Rafinha is in the form of his life. He was the captain last night. He scored a hat-trick, becoming only the fourth Brazilian to score a hat-trick in Europe for Barcelona with Neymar, Rivaldo, and Ronaldinho. So it's pretty special. And what Vinicius can do on Tuesday, Rafinha can do on Wednesday, great before the Clásico. But I don't know how much. He can't play 55, 60 games a season like that. Neither can Lamine, even at 17 years old, and certainly not Lewandowski at 36.
It's funny. My mind 100% agrees with you. But then I get this little niggling thing. You said he can't play at that level 55, 60 games. I would have said Flick can't go and change Barcelona so radically with the kids so quickly, and yet he did. And I think maybe. This is part of what makes this sport so incredible is we're proven wrong all the time because special people do special things. All right, enough Barca. How about some quick hits instead?
Let's go, Gab.
Real Madrid come from 2 goals down at home to beat Borussia Dortmund 5-2. Jules, this was something else. You know my thoughts on the Ballon d'Or.
You see?
Yeah, I got so caught up into it. Honestly, if Ren Simple had asked me, he says, like, Gab, you don't get a vote because all these other very knowledgeable people have votes. Yeah. But we want you to run onto the pitch and give it to Vini right now rather than waiting till Monday night. I would have done it.
You would have done it. I think we all would have done it. I think he's going to win the Ballon d'Or on Monday. It's on Monday night. The votes have been sent already, so the hat-trick on Tuesday doesn't impact the votes anyway. But I don't think he needed that hat-trick.
It's a confirmation.
Yeah,
it's a justification.
And I guess in a way, it's a really nice way of leading into the Clásico first, where we will expect him to shine again. And then a few days later to be crowned as the best player in the world and win the Ballon d'Or. That, like I said, I know a lot of people don't care, like you, Gabi, usually, but players do care. It's a dream for most of them to win it and have that in their house. So it will be on Vini's house on Monday, and he'll be very happy. And as much as I love Rodri, and I would have also been okay with Rodri getting it, right now Vini is the best player in the world, so he deserves it.
All right, are you gonna? Is it all just peace and love for Real Madrid, or are you going to take some issue with the fact that they went 2 goals down?
Yeah, and that first half was horrendous from them collectively. Just everything I think was bad. The defending was bad. Courtois was bad, who got injured, by the way, in that game. I just think everything was bad. But then you also knew at halftime, right? That they would come back.
Because they pulled the goal back, yeah.
But even then, before they pulled the goal back, you kind of knew the pressure would be so big.
Escénico, as they say.
And it's just such a special place. But also...
What does it say that they had to play Modric, and can you start Modric 2 games in a row?
I don't think so.
All right.
I don't think
just teeing up the Clásico.
But yeah. And obviously, Gab, Real Madrid winning it, and it's right to celebrate them for winning it, of course. But was it also Borussia Dortmund and Nuri Sahin self-destructing at some point?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was exactly that. There are ways to manage the game. And I think what you don't want, I mean, presumably you've seen Real Madrid play in the past, make their comebacks. I mean, 2 years ago when they came back in every round.
Yeah.
What you do not want is you don't want to be in a situation where you've got the lead and you're away from home and you're like, yeah, let's sit back and hit on the counter. That's suicidal against Real Madrid because it's the Bernabeu, because... there is this effect there because it's Real Madrid and they have the individual quality. They can do things. They can win penalties. Hello, that's Mbappe and Vinicius out there. You want to have one of those 2 guys keep running at Schlotterbeck over and over again or Rierson or whatever and then see what the referee says? Yeah. There's so much that can go wrong. And I just thought it was the wrong approach. And I think he really misread the game.
Yeah,
and they're not doing well in the league, and he hasn't fixed the old problems. And yeah, I think he's kind of fighting to keep his job.
He's a young coach, and that showed.
Manchester City destroy Sparta Prague 5-0. Jules, am I exaggerating if I suggest that Haaland's goal was Zlatanesque?
No, not at all. It would remind you. I'm sorry to bring that up, obviously, but his goal for Sweden against Italy at the Euros.
Come on, in 2004.
Yeah.
Yes, no, I
We
don't
all
like
remember.
that. I don't like that.
It reminds you of his own goal against Dortmund 2 seasons ago in the Champions League, where the cross came from the other side, but he did a similar
I thought this
back
was
heel.
better.
That's better because the ball comes from the right. I mean, the athleticism and the height for such a big guy that he reaches to hit it, and he's a bit fortunate in a way because the bounce, I think, gets the keeper, but still, it's an incredible
That's a lot
goal.
of weight. He's
an
putting into
amazing-
the air so high, and he's contorting his body. All that yoga clearly pays off.
Clearly. All the Pilates. Liverpool win again. That's 11 wins in 12 9-0 competition. As Darwin Núñez scored the only goal, or steals the only goal away at Leipzig, who are still stuck on 0 points. Gab, Arne Slot marches on.
Yeah, and Marco Rosa, 0, as you said, 0 points.
Yeah.
And they're joint top of the league in the Bundesliga. It's kind of funny how that works out. I thought, again, Liverpool absorbed the early chances that Leipzig gave.
Yeah,
I don't think it was a sterling performance from Liverpool.
I agree.
But you got the 3 points, and that's what matters. And they have this kind of dimension to them. It's even at the weekend, we talked about it on Monday against Chelsea. I thought Liverpool played well without the ball, and Chelsea also played really well. Both things can be true,
Yeah.
but they got the win. On Darwin Núñez stealing the goal from Mo Salah.
Love that.
That's a striker's mentality there.
course,
He needs them more than Salah does.
Yeah.
Neymar is back, Jules. He came on in that huge game between arguably Asia's two best teams.
They are.
El Hilal from Saudi, and of course my boy Hernan Crespo from Al Ain. And 5-4.
5-4.
You kidding me?
Incredible.
And
really
a red card
incredible. And a
from
red
that guy
card.
nobody likes.
Yeah. I mean,
The guy who
one of-
upset Ron Cristiano. Who's,
Yeah.
I don't know his name, but
it
same
was
dude.
5-3, and then Al Ain scored really late in garbage time, as you like to say, Gab. 5-4, incredible. Salem Aldosari with a hat trick. A wonderful game by two really good teams, the best team, as you said, in that part of the world. Al Ain as well. So for Al Hilal to go there and do that job and get the win, great to see Neymar coming on. He obviously very short of match fitness, as you would expect, but he was just so happy to be coming on a winning night too. It's in the Champions League, so they've done it differently. It's East and West now.
Yeah.
You've got a league table too. It's quite interesting, really interesting to see. But that's a massive win, and I guess the win was just the icing on the cake for the club because Neymar's return was the best news of the night, really. Olympiacos and Nottingham Forest owner Evangelos Marinakis was given a 5-game ban for, I quote, a flagrant display of disrespectful behaviour, Gabi, for his actions after Forest lost 1-0 at home against Fulham. What did you make of the whole story?
Okay, so the allegation is that he spat near the referee.
Towards the ref, yeah.
Okay, a couple things. So first of all, this is completely irrelevant. A 5-game ban. Evangelos Marinakis, it may surprise you to hear, he doesn't actually play and he doesn't coach. He just sits there. So a 5-game ban, what are you going to do? Stop him from entering the stadium?
His own stadium?
His own stadium, which he literally owns? I don't know. Or whether he watches it on TV from a hotel next door, it makes no difference, right? So this is kind of...
I guess he can't go into the dressing room after the game.
You know
or
what?
even
This is
before. That can happen,
performative.
yeah.
This is performative from the FA. I honestly, I don't know when.
Yeah.
I don't know when an owner's been banned from his own stadium, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you want to do it, fine. I mean, a fine is more. I think would
Yeah,
send just
for
as strong
sure.
a message. Secondly, I have to address this because Evangelos, I've got an affinity for Greeks, right? They are cousins, right? However, you need to have a serious word with your lawyer because his defense is one of the stupidest defenses I have ever heard. So the lawyer explains that Marinakis had a cold at the time and he was sucking lozenges. Equally, he smokes 2 or 3 cigars a day.
Sure.
And so as a result, he coughs. And when you cough, sometimes spit and phlegm come up. When they come up, it's normal for Mr. Marinakis to spit into a handkerchief. And if there's no hanky around, he just spits on the floor. Note that in the documents, they don't say on the ground, meaning outside, which is still, frankly, I think kind of gross.
Yeah, very dirty.
But it's one thing if you spit on the ground, you're walking in a park, whatever. On the floor, floors are indoors. Ground is outside. Does Marinakis walk around? Are you basically saying that Marinakis, to get him out of this 5-game ban, which is frankly irrelevant, you're saying Marinakis walks around his house spitting on the floor like a llama? Is this how bad you want to make your client look?
When he coughs.
I refuse to believe that this is true.
But clearly it didn't work because he still got the ban anyway. So.
Oh my God, it didn't work. He said it wasn't aimed at the referee's feet, didn't hit anybody. He fails to see how coughing can come out from any person towards the floor in a relatively crowded tunnel is misconduct. Whatever. Let's just move on.
Yeah.
Jules, we're not done. We have more quick hits.
Yes.
Arsenal were looking to defeat a Bournemouth behind them at home to Shakhtar ahead of that big game against Liverpool. They won 1-0, but it was hardly impressive. And now Calafiori is injured too.
Yeah, we're waiting to hear how long he will be out, if he's out. He did a scan yesterday on that knee injury that, as we know, because of his injury record, especially with knees, even if it's not the same one that got badly injured when he was much younger, it's still not a good look at all. He had to come off. Arsenal, decent in the first half and took the lead. But after that, second half was not good. Trossard missing a penalty. And then, to be fair, Shakhtar could have scored at the end and make it 1-1, and Arsenal would have dropped points and would have really, really been regretful. So not the kind of performance, I guess, that you want on the back of what happened at Bournemouth and also 4 days before the Liverpool game at home.
Yeah, and I was disappointed in people like Gabriel Jesus, who, you don't get many starts these days. He's been injuries. It's not just that he missed the chances and he gives you the effort, but his decision-making, to me, often leaves a lot to be desired. I don't need to see so much Trossard. I guess Merino maybe can't play 3 games in a week.
Yeah, no Saka again. No Saka, no Odegaard together.
It's a big loss.
Inter leave it very late to be young boys in Switzerland, Gab. I know there was a lot of rotation again from Simone Inzaghi because of the massive game at the weekend in the league, but I expected more from them.
Yeah, I think they expected more too. Barella coming out afterwards and saying that wasn't good. I think they kind of looked past them. Didn't help that Marko Arnautovic missed a penalty. They talked about the pitch too, but guys, you know that they play on an artificial pitch. Yeah. You know that's the case. You also know young boys, people seem to forget this, they're 10th out of 12 teams in this powerful Swiss league. So, I think it was a game to forget. They have injuries. Carlos Augusto now out as well. It's going to affect the rotation. But Thuram coming up big before he goes and embarrasses his little brother at the weekend. And who put in the cross? Fede Di Marco. Who else?
Your boy.
Paris Saint-Germain need a late stunner from Achraf Hakimi. It wasn't that late, but it was still a stunner from Achraf Hakimi to beat our old buddy Peter Bosch and PSV Eindhoven. Jules, more points dropped. And why can't Paris Saint-Germain play with a real center forward since they have a very expensive one on the bench?
Yeah, I know, man.
I don't need to see Kang In Lee.
No, as a
Not
false
in a game
nine.
like this.
No, and he played him as a false nine against Arsenal as well. That didn't work out. Colomwani on the bench because I don't think he fancies Colomwani. I don't think he's a big fan.
I know Colomwani's not good, but at least he fills up space. He runs around.
I know. We see. It's a big debate back home. I mean, we said beat our old buddy Peter Bosch, who PSG didn't even beat them. It was a draw. 1-1.
Oh, that's right.
PSG, we had a lot of chances. And even Peter Bosch after the game in his press conference said, okay, no, in normal circumstances, PSG win this game. They should have won this game, which is true. The XG is like almost 3. But they didn't because they lack efficiency. Dembele missed 2 massive chances. Barcola as well. There was enough there for PSG to win, but they didn't. And that's also a worry. And then on Sunday night is the big game away at Marseille, who had a nice week to prepare, rest, De Zerbi working on all his tactical stuff. And that's an incredible game for them to play in. And, it's not going to be easy at all.
Do you still have Peter Bosch behind Erik ten Hag in your list of bald Dutch managers?
Although they're doing great in the Eredivisie, but I was not that impressed. But I was more disappointed by PSG, and now I wonder what will happen on Sunday. Gab, I'm told you defended Thiago Motta as Juventus after the win at Lazio this weekend. Are you going to defend them again after their horrible performance against Stuttgart?
No, I am not.
What happened?
It was incredible. They were incredibly bad. So Stuttgart played very well.
Team, we said,
But no, they were completely devoid of ideas, devoid of cutting edge. I don't even know their XG. I don't know what it was. I'm sure it was under 0.2. If that, Mattia Perin made some incredible saves a penalty as well. Otherwise, it could have been 3 or 4. He's got to figure this out. I can deal with some level of sterility, and obviously Nico Gonzalez is out, blah, blah, blah.
A few injuries.
but you need to take the game to the opposition more. This is why you're here. Villa, atop of the league.
Wow.
How about that? They stayed perfect with a 2-0 win over Bologna. So John Duran got a little bit grumpy at being taken off.
Yeah, so he got his start, which obviously
He doesn't get many.
as the super sub, exactly, doesn't get many. Watkins was on the bench, and after an hour, and after he scored a goal, the first goal of the game, on the cross by Rodgers, and it's a lovely flick to score, he gets taken off, and is definitely a bit sulky on the bench, not happy, you know, the kind of face, kind of reaction, which you can understand, but at least he played for an hour, which is more than he usually plays because he comes on for the last 20, 30, 25 minutes usually. But when you're 20-year-old and having such an incredible season, really, I guess you want to play as much as possible, but he will need to learn to be patient and understand the decisions of his coach.
I'll tell you what, I thought Bologna made life very difficult for them for a long time, considering that this is a team where nobody seems to be able to score.
Yeah.
And again, the McGinn goal, great goal, but there was a foul up the pitch on Fabian. How that was missed, I don't know.
Christian Pulisic scores an Olympico goal, and Milan eventually beat 10-man Bruges 3-1 on Tuesday. Gab, they look good, especially once Rafael Leao came off.
Yeah, I would say that's kind of when they started looking good.
Yeah.
Okafor, Chukwueze making the difference.
Reinders, 2 goals.
Tijani Reinders, 2 goals. Tijani Reinders is a great player.
Yeah.
You expect more. I mean, you've got the lead at home and the other team at 10 men. You need to put the game away and not wait till minute 60. Look, Fonseca has won the Leao battle. Now Leao either falls into line. He can't have too many more performances like this because Milan actually have a lot of wide players that they can use. So if he wants to be as central to the team as he was, as for Pulisic, great goal. But when you score an Olympico, except for
the direct corner,
he has a goal straight from the corner. It's kind of always the defender's mistake. I remember actually maybe there was one that Maradona scored. But yeah, it's always the goalkeeper.
You know, the XG I found out is 0.001 or 2 after. So if you just look at 2 decimals after, it's 0.00 XG.
There you go.
Pretty amazing.
Let's celebrate Little Breast
Yes!
and Pierre-Lise Melou, the cult hero of cult heroes.
Yeah.
Jules, they hold Bayer Leverkusen to a 1-1 draw, and they're still up there among the best.
Incredible. 7 points now, 3 games from them. A wonderful team performance. Not great. They rode their luck a little bit. Maybe Bayer Leverkusen could have had a penalty or 2 even, maybe. Xabi Alonso not happy. But still, one of those games that will stay forever in the history of the club, obviously against German champions. And to get that lovely goal from Lise Melou to make it 1-1 after Florian Wirtz scored the first one is wonderful. So well done to them. At some point, I expect them to lose, but who knows?
Exactly.
Who knows, you know. After getting thumped at home in the last round, Celtic traveled to face Atalanta and come out with a 0-0 draw. Gab, how impressed were you? I mean, the last game was at Dortmund, but yeah.
Okay, so the Dortmund game, somebody smart pointed out to me what the XG was in that game, Dortmund's XG.
Yeah.
It wasn't that high, despite the penalties. And the thinking was Celtic aren't that bad, actually, defensively. And people were like, oh, they need to sort the defense. Well, Dortmund... Yeah, Dortmund would have still murdered them, but wouldn't have scored that many if not for Schmeichel throwing it into his own net and the penalties. So they came to Bergamo, they parked the bus. Atalanta absolutely battered them. But you know what? In this sport, if you don't score, it makes no difference. So well done, Celtic. Well done, Brendan. Atletico Madrid continue to lose at home to Lille. Jules, much love to Jonathan David, but that penalty was a bit dubious, no?
So dubious. So dodgy. I'm not sure. I mean, Andre says there's a touch from Koke. Koke takes out his leg. I can't see. What I see is a handball from Andre, by the way, too. But what a wonderful win. 3 weeks after beating Real Madrid, Lille go to Madrid and beat Atletico this time. Bruno Genesio doing an amazing job again. Benfica were hoping to stay perfect, Gab, in the Champions League, but they got tripped up at home by Feyenoord. 3-1.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. Anthony Milambo, 19 years old, coming up big, 2 goals. I think that was a difference maker. Otamendi, I thought, really struggled a little bit at the back. Well done to my Danish friend, Brian Priske. Monaco roll over Red Star 5-1 at home. Jules, they're going great in the league and in Europe. Should Paris Saint-Germain be a little bit concerned?
I think so, Gab. I think so. And I think whoever plays them in Europe, and they beat Barcelona, who were down to 10. Remember, Eric Garcia got that red card early. So, but... And then they played Zagreb and so we'll see. Let's wait a little bit more. But Akliush, Golovin, Embolo, Minamino were on fire in that game. It could have been 10 goals, really. They had that many chances. In the league, they're top of the table with PSG, just behind them on goal difference. But going great, still unbeaten, by the way, in all competitions. And there's not many teams like that in Europe right now. So it's really, really impressive what Adi Hutter is. And they are, as you would expect, talking to him about extending his contract, because not so much last season where they started well and then faded in the second half of the season. But this year, so far, they've been outstanding, really, really outstanding.
Can I just say, for those who watch the game on television and you see those big empty spaces in the stadium, please, residents of Monaco and Cap d'Ai, go and watch this team, not just when it's like Barcelona coming into town.
As you know, there's not many people in Monaco in the winter.
But there's many people who live around there.
I know, but then...
They're all Nice or Marseille fans.
Nice fans don't go to watch Monaco. Marseille fans neither.
Cannes fans?
Maybe.
Juan Le Pen fans?
I don't know, but if you think just purely, there's like 8,000 people who live in Monaco.
You're right.
Officially.
There's 30, no, I think it's more like 35,000.
But in the winter.
Yeah, no, none of them are there. But still, there's other places around. I don't know. It's just weird.
But you could hear a lot of noise, but that was the Red Star Belgrade away fans who were. Sporting win away to Sturm Graz. Gab, everyone is on Gokieres watch. So, how did he do?
So, on the first goal, he completely whiffs it.
Yeah.
He looks just like a big, clumsy man.
He does. A bit like Soloth, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
On the second goal, and by the way, Sturm Graz, not very good.
Not good. We said that.
On the second goal, my goodness.
He looks like Haaland then.
No, you know what he looked like? I'm going to refer back to the Eagles win.
Yeah.
He looks like Saquon Barkley. Strength and power and speed. He just accelerates down the sideline, goes inside. Nice finish.
How did you manage to bring Barkley in this chat?
Because you have to. Come on. We finally have a win.
I don't know how the Giants playing, but anyway, that's for another show.
Because Gyökeres is a giant. There you go.
Yeah.
By Portuguese standards. Anyway, Miguel Gutierrez and a gorgeous Juanpe free kick give Girona their first points, a 2-0 win over Slovan Bratislava. Jules, I guess it helps that you're playing Slovan?
Yeah, they're a terrible team. We've said that many times before, and they will be terrible until the end of this competition. But for Girona, it's good. Remember, they had a decent performance against PSG. Were unlucky. The Gazzaniga own goal right at the end. Against Feyenoord, they were good at home, pushed, and then obviously got done on the counter and lost that late as well. This time, it took their time, but they scored. And for Juanpe to score, lovely, lovely story. So they're off the mark. Finally, the Montevideo, the atmosphere was great. So good for Mitchell as well. And it's just brilliant.
By the way, if I can make a brief digression on this, on the teams on 0 points, like Slovan, like Leipzig, I guess, and Sturm Graz and whatever. Because of the format of this, we're 3 games in. If you lose your first 3 games...
Yeah, that's true. And win the next 5, you still go through.
No, but they don't even... I mean, what I'm saying is it depends. I don't know who all they've played, right? But if I'm Slovan, hypothetically, because I don't have the schedule in front of me, but if I've got 2 pot 4 teams left to play, then I can still tell myself I'm still in this, because if I get 2 wins there, and I manage 1 more win at home, maybe against a pot 3 team or whatever else.
Although they play Celtic and Girona already.
Or whatever. If I've already paid my pot 4 teams, yes, then I'm in trouble. But, we're discovering this new format. Yeah. That's what I'm driving at.
That's true.
Speaking of pot 4, Salzburg lose at home.
That's me for you, I think. Yes, because Salzburg, you're right, Gabby, lose again at home, and this time against Dinamo Zagreb. They got their goalkeeper sent off too, and Pep Linders is having a really, really tough time.
Okay. Can we come out and say this? Salzburg, owned by what energy drink conglomerate?
Yes, RB.
How many points? 0. Leipzig, owned by what energy drink conglomerate? How many points?
0.
Do you think this is God punishing Red Bull for their evil actions over the years?
No, because as you said, they both are going to win the next 5 games and go through. So
I don't know. The thing about Salzburg is they're not just bad in Europe; they're bad domestically as well. They are 4th in the Austrian league. They're 6 points back. That's pretty hard to do. Pep Linders, all those years when he was, Klopp's number 2, it's like, Pep Linders could take over. He's the brains behind the operation.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, maybe Pep Linders was not the brains behind the operation of Liverpool. Maybe it actually was Jurgen Klopp. Maybe it was the people upstairs who bought the players. Maybe it was the rest of Klopp's backroom staff, including the weird guy who looks like a mini-me version of him. What's his name? I always blank, but whatever. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it's not the other Pep, as some people
And it shows again that you can be a good number 2, a great number 2. That doesn't make you automatically a very good number 1. And remember, he was a number 1 before in the Eredivisie at NAC Breda, and that didn't go well either. And this is going terribly in a team like you, at least domestically, is the best. I know Sturm Graz won the title last season in Austria, but usually Salzburg
Well, because their budget is like 10 times everybody else's. Yeah.
So
and shout out also to my man Petkovic. Great long. I loved. We saw
like Zagreb.
Can I say something? This is the weekend where we saw big people do big people type stuff. Haaland, Gyökeres, Petkovic.
I mean, Petkovic's goal is nowhere near like athletic in terms of athleticism. What Haaland and
I didn't even think he would
did.
score from that far out.
No, it's true, but it's a good shot. It's just still a shot. But it's lovely. And Zagreb have really, really talented kids.
Xavi is the latest name to be linked with Manchester United, with some outlets reporting that he had meetings with club officials. Jules, your take?
I love Xavi. I like him as a player. I liked him as a manager, even if obviously it was a tough context and everything that happened at Barcelona the second season after they won the title in his first full season. So, I mean, anything other than Ten Hag, I'm all for anyway. So I'll give it a go. I'll give it Xavi a go. But I don't know if this is true or not. I haven't been able to be fair, I haven't checked or I don't know.
Maybe he bumped into Omar Barada in a restaurant. Who knows?
If it's true again, how much does that undermine Ten Hag more? And again, it's a case of like, well, they wanted Tuchel, or they could have had Tuchel, but he chose England. Now they're looking at Xavi as the number 1, just waiting for a defeat this weekend or something like that, or defeat against Fenerbahce in the Europa League on Thursday night, and then they get rid of him and bring Xavi in. You know, do you see what I mean?
I love Xavi. I don't know that he would be a great fit at Manchester United.
No, I know.
For where they are now. At the same time, for whatever Ten Hag says about his lies and fairy tales and whatever, I mean, dude, Manchester United's directors would not be doing their job if they didn't consider Plan Bs, because you are underachieving right now. You are 11th in the table. Yeah. So they're doing their job. You're doing your job. And let's wait and see. I don't think there's an ultimatum. Oh, if you lose at the weekend, you're gone. That would be stupid.
Yeah.
But they're going to draw their own conclusions. And the January transfer window is coming up. And everybody knows what that means. And I think Ten Hag knows what that means too.
I agree. The Daily Mail, even reports here in England that Barcelona Atletico Madrid on the weekend of December 22nd is likely to be played in Miami. That's right. You are Miami in the US. No, there's no Miami anywhere in Spain. That's in the US. Gab, it will be the first regular season game to be played in the US, I believe, not just from La Liga, but from any of the big 5 leagues.
That's right. Now, so this story, a couple things to say here. This story emanates from Spain, and there's another story now saying, Atletico Madrid have given the green light. There's a couple problems here. So, first of all, on December 22nd, the Miami Dolphins play the San Francisco 49ers at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, which is the big stadium in Miami. So unless La Liga want to play their game at the little crappy Fisher-Price piece of junk where Lionel Messi has to play.
Miami has to play.
Yeah, in front of 20,000 people. It ain't happening.
They can play the 23rd, right?
The day after?
Yeah.
What, after you've
the
had
NFL, I mean, I know
after the NFL's torn up the pitch.
You've got like Tariq Hill, just but still,
I guess. There's a lot of hoops to jump through.
Yeah.
Still, people have made a big deal out of the fact that there was a whole legal case against FIFA and should they have jurisdiction about blocking games. Then FIFA were dropped from the lawsuit. There's still people who have to sign off on this, including the Spanish FA. I'm not sure what direction they're going to go in. And the U.S. Soccer Federation sign off on this. Now, the U.S. Soccer Federation and MLS are not the same thing. However, realistically, MLS has a lot of pull. And I refer you back to something Don Garber said very recently. He was referring about the Premier League. I think he was talking about the Premier League playing in the U.S., but I think it's exactly the same thing. He said, I, for one, know the value of a regular season game. I know what it means to fans. I know what sovereignty means, that football is based around borders. I believe in the importance of those borders.
Yes.
And then he ran off and built a wall. No, just kidding. So I think they're kind of trying to force it, see what the reaction is. FIFA have gone away to make a working group to decide whether they're going to allow this or not, or I mean, they can't allow this, I think, on their own unless they tear up their own
Yeah,
rules.
yeah.
But this feels to me like one of those things where FIFA are like, yeah, we'll go take care of this. And then it kind of gets buried in FIFA land.
Yeah,
Until
but it seems that Tebas is pushing hard for it.
he can push all he wants.
Yeah,
but,
true,
you know,
true,
it's not
true.
like he's Gianni Infantino's mate.
No,
It's
true.
the kind of thing where I think, yeah, FIFA sit on it until it can be maybe become a useful bargaining chip somehow.
Maybe.
I don't know.
We've talked about. I'm completely against it. I think it would be an absolute disgrace to take that game away from Barcelona fans and Atletico Madrid fan in Madrid and in Barcelona, where your community is, where your fans, the hardcore or the biggest fans that you have is obviously there, where the team is, where the team lives, where the stadium is, and I think it'd be an absolute disgrace.
You have no problem when the Jacksonville Jaguars play here in London once a year?
Oh, I'm against that too. I don't go to those matches, and I don't.
But
Again,
the Jags have no fans. I think that's a difference.
Okay. Fair enough.
No, I'm just kidding there. Sorry, Tony Khan. But yeah, you do. You have some attendance issues, I think, relative to other clubs. But whatever. Yeah, look, I'm against it too. I don't see the need of it. It's different than when the NFL, the NBA, the NHL do it, I think, because there's a very different dynamic because those leagues, first of all, are head and shoulders above everybody else.
Yeah.
La Liga is head and shoulders above MLS, perhaps, but not above every other league.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it actually promotes the game. I think this feels like a jolly in Miami for certain people and sponsors and television
Yeah.
executives,
Yeah.
like our bosses, perhaps.
Yeah.
But I think that's about it. You know, Jose Mourinho joked that if City are punished as a result of the Premier League inquiry and their 115 charges, then Manchester United owe him a bonus and a medal. Makes sense, right? He wasn't joking.
He was on great form on Wednesday in his press conference before the game on Thursday, which sometimes, we hate draws or we watch them and we would just take from what they are. But sometimes draws are pretty good. When they bring Jose Mourinho against Manchester United and Erik Ten Hag again in Europe with Fenerbahce, he was on great form. Talking about how good he was in that season where they won the Europa League in 2018 and finished second behind City. And then joking, obviously, that if in those charges, City are docked points or stripped of their titles or some of the titles, then maybe United then would win the title in 2018. He would get his medal and the bonus that was likely in his contract for winning a Premier League. So, Graham Mourinho, I just can't wait for that game on Thursday. It's going to be exceptional.
This is fun, likable, intelligent Mourinho when he says stuff like this.
Exactly. It's not always like that. More City, Gabby. The Premier League held another meeting of clubs to try to resolve the situation with these APT rules. How did it go?
It did not go well. It was described as quote unquote feisty. By insiders. Simon Cliff, who you can imagine how likable he is. He's a lawyer for he's Manchester City's legal counsel. And his name is Simon, which he showed up and he said, look,
Simons.
There's good Simons and bad Simons, put it that way. Somebody paid for, I think, a City fan group, paid for this billboard outside.
Yes.
Said Richard's Masters, and it showed like the Arsenal logo, the United logo. It's a whole cartel argument.
Liverpool and Spurs.
Look, I don't want to bore everybody with this whole thing. There were 3 parts, which I think of the associated party transaction rules, which the Premier League need to revise based on the judgment.
Yeah.
One is that the burden of proof to show that your sponsorship deal is of fair market value and not some inflated nonsense from the company which you also own.
Your parent company.
Exactly. That the burden of proof shouldn't fall on the club, that it should fall on the league, which I think is probably fair enough.
Yeah, I think so.
2, which I think City are stupid to be arguing this. I don't see how this is even an argument, is that the information on sponsorship deals should be shared between the clubs. Clubs always say, oh, no, but it's a secret. I'm like, dude, they all know, okay? Yeah. And then, come on, just stop with that. And 3rd, that shareholder loans, and this affects more clubs than others. So in other words, Kroenke or Tony Bloom is one of the big guys who does this. They loan money to their own club at 0 interest that actually, at least for the calculation, the club should be paying interest on it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's kind of a form of equity, right?
Yeah.
Which again, I think City have a point here.
Yeah.
The arch problem with this, other than the fact that it's incredibly boring and I hope people haven't switched off, is that the Premier League is so secretive and so untransparent and their systems are so dumb. I spoke to the owner of a Premier League club, and one of the upshots of this is they have to go back to the 3 judges on the panel and ask them, hey, in your explanation, what did you actually mean by this? Can we get clarity? People wonder, well, why can City say they won while the Premier League say they won? It's because the judgment, at least to the rank and file Premier League clubs, is clear as mud.
Yeah.
So they need to seek extra clarification. On top of that, it's all pretty much behind closed doors because they wrote the Premier League in such a way. They go, no, it's our little closed shop. And so people get confused. People lie. They need to seriously sit down and rewrite these rules in goodwill for the good of everybody and make them more transparent. But I don't see how you can do it in the current climate when you have one club that feels persecuted and as a result is just suing the league, in other words, their business partners, left, right, and center. So this is going to take a long, long time to resolve.
Yeah.
So on Monday, you were away, Jules,
Yeah.
and Rob Palmer did a fine job replacing you. I mean, as fine as a replacement can do, nothing like the original. Rob is fantastic, but this may surprise you. He is not as swatted up as you are on 2 subjects. One is football in Paris, and the other is luxury brands.
Thank you.
That's why I'm going to ask you what I asked him.
Yeah.
How big a deal is this proposed takeover of Paris FC, who are in the promotion spots in League 2?
Top of the 2nd division,
They're going to be taken over, reportedly, by Red Bull, who, as we know, are very good at developing young talent, of which there is a ton in Paris, and LVMH, which is this massive conglomerate of everything from Louis Vuitton to Bulgari to those Tag Heuer watches I don't like. And Bernard Arnault,
the Arnault
who
family.
is a billionaire, and I believe he's maybe the richest
Third
French.
richest man in the world. First in France and third in the world.
Are you a little worried here?
So I think this is fascinating.
Is he from Paris?
They are Paris.
Paris born and bred. Oh, Jules.
Which is fine with me. I mean, the thing with Paris FC is
they don't have any fans that they have to give away tickets.
That. They don't have a stadium either for now. It's more that it would always be, I think, more of a friendly rivalry. It's a team that has always been amazing at grassroots level with youth teams. That some top world-class players right now, somebody like Ibrahima Konate, for example, or Presnel Kimpembe, those kind of guys I've played with before going to a big academy with a better first team, because the first team at Paris FC was never great when I was growing up. I almost played for Paris FC. I turned them down, as you know, to go to another club in Paris. But they've always great. But people in Paris have always liked them because they were just promoting youth football and grassroots, and they were great for all the kids of the area in that part of Paris, the east, but also of the whole capital. So great. But there was never really a rivalry with PSG, for example, because they were never in the same league, not just physically in the same league as in where they played, but also in the same league in terms of exposure, how big they were. Paris FC is not a big club. So this would be amazing for the city in itself. I welcome every sort of competition because you make each other better, obviously. I love the fact that, Red Bull will only own 10%, so that's not a big deal. The big deal is LVMH, really. And the Arnault family, who are, as you said, worth 190 billions, not millions, billions, 190 billions. Euros.
So they could buy Sheikh Mansour.
They can do anything they want.
Put him in a refrigerator.
They don't even look at Sheikh Mansour.
They'd rather sell him stuff.
Yeah, so it's incredible. They will be at the game at the weekend, for example, in the league. And it's just, I think it's just.
I'm going to press on with this. I'm fascinated by it. They never had much interest in actual football.
No.
Until now. They have interest in other sports.
Yeah.
I think they're very close to Roger Federer, among others.
Yeah.
They're known for luxury brands. Paris Saint-Germain, in some ways, has kind of built itself as a luxury brand because of where the Parc de France is.
All of lifestyle
16th
brand,
and all this stuff. I'm wondering, Paris Saint-Germain has an issue with the people on the Parc de France. Could we see something like Paris FC move in there? And maybe, Paris is a luxury destination to many people. It's an expensive city to visit.
Yeah.
They've got the money. Can you actually, again, I'm not a marketing guy. I'm not expert in luxury brands.
But you're right.
Could you wrap it up in, Louis Vuitton luggage, I think is a bit gaudy, but again.
It's not at all. I disagree with that.
Bulgari is a legit brand.
Vuitton
Hennessy, Moet, whatever. Could you wrap this all up and kind of create a boutique football club based on youth and expensive
I think they have great plans. They have great ideas already. It will take time. obviously, because as we said, they don't even have a stadium. So they can't play in the Parc des Princes right now because it's obviously not theirs. It's the city of Paris loaning it, if you want, to PSG. But you're right, they might be
could share
potentially.
it.
I know because the PSG have another
The lease doesn't allow it?
yeah, for another 10 years, I think, or something. So it would take time. But for example, they would like to play at the Jean-Bouin Stadium, which is the Stade Français rugby team stadium, which is literally across the road. And when I say across the road, there's just a little street between the Parc des Princes and the Jean-Bouin Stadium, which again is complicated because you can't have the two teams playing at the same time or even the same weekend. So it's complicated. But if they go up, what they have to do, and that would accelerate the process even more of their development, the takeover will happen soon, is that if they can go up this season, and right now they're the best team in Ligue 2, they've got players like Maxime Lopez, remember, the former Sassuolo and Marseille midfielder, Jean-Philippe Crasso is a really good player for that level. So they're walking the league right now in the second division. So if they go up, which they should, that would be great for them to have them in Liga next season, and then that would accelerate the development and this process of the takeover and getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Okay, one last thing on this. You have to explain this to me, why it's a friendly rivalry. Because, as we know, and I love to rib you about this, despite the fact that FIFA, I believe, was founded in Paris, for some reason, Parisian clubs are not very old. Paris Saint-Germain.
That's not true.
Paris Saint-Germain goes all the way back to what, 1969?
70. But before they were called something else.
But
they just merged.
So according to Wikipedia, which is never wrong, Paris FC and Saint-Germain, the clubs, merged to become Paris Saint-Germain. And then after a year or two, Paris FC left and became their own club in 1971. So they're splitters. And there's our Monty Python reference. This doesn't generate some rivalry. They were together and they broke apart.
Again, they were never in the same league. So at youth level, for example.
But they were the same club for 2 years.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were, but a long time ago.
Okay.
But PSG
well,
was
1970. It's not like...
I know, but like, it was... But they never compete. Even at youth level, PSG were always the best team anywhere, under 17, under 15 in the top division. But Paris FC were great at youth level, but still not as good as PSG. Right. So that's why.
All right. Sorry, I thought it was.
But for example, I think Paris FC is a lot of Parisian second club after PSG, for example. That's how we always want them to do well.
Right. Are they rivals in women's football? Paris FC have a very good women's team.
They have, but still.
Are they rivals there, or are they all just like?
They are getting better and better, but they're still behind PSG too in every respect and stuff. But it's great. It's absolutely.
Sorry for the long digression. I find this story absolutely
it's a great story.
Fascinating.
Great story. Back to cricket now after this long
hit.
Group of more than 100 professional women footballers, Gabby, have written to FIFA urging them to end their sponsorship. So FIFA sponsorship deal with Saudi Aramco, citing human rights concerns. What do you make of it?
So basically, they came out and they said they talked about Saudi Arabia's brutal human rights reputation, its treatment of women. They stand alongside the citizens of Saudi Arabia whose human rights are violated. They don't want to be part of covering up the violations. So they urge FIFA to reconsider this partnership and replace Saudi Aramco, which isn't just a Saudi company, but is directly owned or part owned by the Saudi government, with alternative sponsors whose values align with gender equality, human rights, and the safe future of our planet. FIFA have responded saying, guys, it's this sponsorship money which allows us to continue to develop women's football and stuff like that. I struggle with this a little bit. And I find
from the players.
Yeah, look, I have no problem with somebody taking a stand for what they believe in, and I think they have every right to. And I think it's puerile to come out and say, "Oh no, look, you're getting paid, so shut up." No. I find the narrative interesting. I find it really interesting that these professional women footballers care about this, whereas, say, Newcastle players don't care. Right?
Yeah.
Neymar doesn't care, presumably. By the same token, I think people need to also educate themselves a little bit. If I were FIFA, what I would do today, or the Saudis, I would get these women, and I would say, I want to invite them to Saudi Arabia, and I would invite them to go and look at the Saudi Pro League that they've set up. They've set up a women's league in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And the women's league has foreign women playing there. And go there, meet them, talk to these women, and then decide for yourself
Yeah.
where you want to stand. Because it's very easy to be cartoonish and lampoon somebody. It's also very easy to get into a whole thing of whataboutery, right? Because people say, oh, what about Saudi? Well, what about, Russia? What about the US and guns and blah, 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 and then bring politics into it. If after you go there, you say, you know what? You may be spending money on the women's game, but I still have a serious problem with your views on LGBTQ rights. I have a serious problem with the fact you're an autocratic regime. I have a serious problem that, you rule because you think God made you crown prince or whatever. I don't want part of this money. Then I doff my hat to you and I respect you and I respect your view. But I think there is so much manipulation on both sides on this issue that I think above all, we need clarity. And what FIFA can do, I think, as kind of the people who are stuck in between, rather than saying, well, this money goes to finance all this other stuff, which is true and which is a real world pragmatic thing, people might also say, I don't want blood money, if that's how they consider it, right? Just go, let's have more transparency, let's invite these people over, and let's see what this is all about. That humiliation against Marseille means Montpellier have a new boss. It's Jean-Louis Gasset, Jules.
That's right, Jean-Louis. Joe Biden Gasset. Remember how the Marseille fans nicknamed him last season when he took over?
This is really encouraging. It feels really, really good.
His age is 72, I think, or something like that.
He's not kidding around.
Obviously, an incredible relationship with Montpellier through history because he played for them, he managed them before. He's heavily linked. He said, I could not say no to Montpellier. This is my life, which is fair enough. I'm not sure if he's the answer to a team that lacks so much talent and is bottom of the table, or second from bottom in the league. They were terrible at the weekend. There were problems in the crowds with the ultras and all of that. So good luck to him. I guess what he's good at is cuddling players and making them feel loved and bringing them
kindly grandpa.
Yeah, exactly. That confidence high like that, and started really well with Marseille last season when they brought him on for 100 days or so. Then after that, kind of that's the problem with the cuddling. Then you need more tactically.
You need a stick to go with your carrot.
A little bit. So let's see. But it certainly could not be worse than under Michel Zakarian, who we replaced. So let's see. Trouble in Africa, Gabi, where some $16 million has gone missing from the Confederation of African Football, so the CAF, and the General Secretary is fighting with his own audit committee. What's going on?
Yeah, this is an odd one. So the General Secretary is Veron Mosengo Omba. They have an audit and compliance committee whose job there is to go through all the books and say, okay,
to make sure that money doesn't disappear.
Yeah, what was this money spent from? Can you explain why it was spent here? What's the justification? Every corporation has this. We have one here. They go through my expenses all the time. Sometimes they give me a hard time. And so they took issue with how some of this money was spent. And they say it's missing. It's not really missing. It was spent. The question is, how was it spent? Was it spent the right way? How was it accounted for? And so what the General Secretary did, he hired his own auditor to go and kind of audit the audit. And because he hired him, the allegation, the Audit and Compliance Committee are saying, well, wait a minute. You hired this dude. He's going to come and say, oh, look, it's not the General Secretary's fault. We're wrong. We're mean. We're political. And he's saying, yeah, but because you are wrong and mean and political. FIFA have played a really big role in CAF. I mean, FIFA critics say they've pretty much taken over CAF. This is a great opportunity for FIFA to go and put a little bit of order. It's a political organization. It's a politicized organization, like most governing bodies around the world. I don't think UEFA is any different. But this is a really bad look. This feels like there are people having internal vendettas. And I mean both sides here. Again, I'm not just saying it's always about both sides, but General Secretary feels under attack.
Yeah.
Audit and Compliance Committee feels delegitimized. It's not like both things can be true, right? We need somebody. And if it takes, I'd feel better in this situation if it's FIFA who steps in, bring some nerdy accountants from Zurich, go through the numbers and say, yeah, this is fine. No, this is not fine. Rather than some external guy actually hired by CAF.
This is crazy.